The 5 biggest mistakes people make in their own business. This comes from, I mentioned to some folks, this month is the 10th year I've been doing this. I've been on my own doing this for 10 years. And these are the things I see, these are the mistakes I see people make over and over and over again. The reason I share these with you, and you don't have to volunteer as to whether you're making them or you have made them, the reason I share these with you is so you can avoid them. I mean, flat out, just don't do it. And it's very easy for us to get caught up in these things. And I'll give you examples of how I've made these mistakes over the years. And I'll give you some thoughts on how you can avoid them. First, mistake number 1 is the failure to have a plan. All right? Now, I'm not talking about an overall business plan. There are people, and I used to be one of these folks, who get paid a lot of money going out to big companies and saying, hey, I'm going to help you with a business plan or with a strategic plan. You don't need it. For what you do, okay, whether you work in a big firm or whether you're on your own, you don't need to have this grand strategic plan. I mean, you could go join an organization like EO, right, Entrepreneurs Organization, or YPO, and they'll spend a lot of time teaching you how to develop a business plan, and they'll go through the reasons why you need it. And that's a great exercise for you to do yourself. What you need to have a plan for is you need to have a plan for how you're going to grow, at least this year, all right? My thought would be how you're gonna grow over the next 3 years. 3 years is all I would ever advise you to think out. Beyond thinking about how this is gonna end for you, you should have some thought in the back of your mind as to when you're done doing what you do, when you're done being a lawyer, when you're done in your firm, how is this gonna end for you, all right? Most people think you can't sell a law firm, and the reason that you can't sell a law firm is because you don't have a plan down the road to sell your firm, okay? If you had structured your firm appropriately, no matter what practice area you're in, you could end up cashing out in some way. Now look, I'm not gonna tell you you're gonna get $1 million unless you're doing like $10 million a year in annual revenue. I'm not gonna tell you you're gonna get big money, but there have been ways, and much to his dissatisfaction now, but at the time it was a good thing. Tannenbaum can attest to the fact that I help, God bless you, I help people get out of their law firm with some ability to continue to receive cash. I say that because Tannenbaum's still in his firm, but his former partner isn't. So I've done that successfully over time. So you can sell your interest at the end if you plan for it accordingly, okay? That being said, don't think about that when it comes to planning. Think about where your growth is going to come from and how you'd like to create that growth, okay? And think about it within the context of what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, what you'd like to do more of, and what it takes for you to attract that business, all right? So many times we fall into stuff, right? My first job was in the hotel industry, and I don't think I've ever told you guys this story. I worked for Marriott for 12 years. You know how I ended up working for Marriott? My dad worked in Tarrytown, New York, and at the time our family lived in North Salem, which is 45 minutes north of where Tarrytown is. I called my dad's office to get directions to the Hilton, okay? I said, Dad, Hilton's a great company. I think I want to work for them. I'm going to go apply for a job at the Hilton in Tarrytown. Can you give me directions? He said, yeah, but I'm running out of the office. Hold on. I'll put my assistant on and she'll give you directions. He puts me on hold. She gave me directions to the Marriott. So I showed up at the Marriott and I filled out an application at the Marriott and they hired me on the spot. I worked for Marriott for 12 years after that, okay? If she had given me directions to the right place, who knows what would have happened. So often we fall into stuff because we don't necessarily have a plan. So what I'd like you to think about is what you enjoy doing, and think about it in the context of what you enjoy doing as it relates to your practice, your business, right? But also what you have to do to attract clients, all right? If you like to speak, you can pretty much attract clients in any practice area. If you like to write, you can pretty much attract clients in any practice area. If you like to network, you can pretty much attract clients in any practice area. But if you have to go and network with CPAs and you don't like to be around CPAs, maybe that practice area isn't going to be good for you, right? Thank goodness Klitzner has a great personality, because he walks in a room full of CPAs and he's automatically the most interesting guy in the room, right? I mean, it's absolutely true. So when you're thinking about planning, here's what you need to do, okay? If you just want to grow 20%, look at what you did last year and figure out how many cases you need to attract for that 20% growth, and then think about what you would enjoy doing to get that to achieve that growth goal. All right? Anybody have any thoughts as to? And I'm gonna ask questions while you're speaking just for fun. Anybody have any thoughts as to why I encourage you to think about what you enjoy doing when it comes to marketing?
You're more likely to do it.
Right. I mean, it's hard enough to get you guys to do anything, right? So we might as well get you guys to do stuff you enjoy. I have a guy I work with. All he does is once a week, he invites a foursome to play golf with him. He plays golf 3 days a week, but once a week, he creates a foursome, 3 people he's never worked with, that don't know each other, and they get to know each other over the course of 18 holes, and that's been a phenomenally effective way for him to develop business. I have another couple I work with, a husband and wife. They're in different practice areas, but once every quarter, they invite 3 different couples over their home, and they just have a nice casual dinner. They have somebody else cook the dinner for them so that they're not busy cooking and serving the whole time. But they have a nice casual dinner at their home. They introduce people to one another, and that's one of the ways that they develop business. It's something that they really enjoy. There are an infinite number of ways for you guys to use your strengths and the things you enjoy to develop business. And you can use Tannenbaum as an example. How many of you get his Friday wine newsletter? Nobody?
Not yet.
No? All right. So Tannenbaum doesn't want you to know that he's sending out this Friday newsletter. And if he likes you enough at some point, he'll put you on the list. But he writes about wine. He also writes about, other stuff that allows you to get a glimpse into who he is and what he does. But it's a way for him to use something he likes, an area of his strength, so that he can connect with people. So I'd ask you to think about that, because mistake number 1 is failure to have any plan. Think about what you want to do, how you want to grow, and think about how you can leverage your strengths in order to grow over the next, say, let's just do it the next year. And by the way, everybody likes to plan in January. That's probably the worst time for you to start any plan. If you want to do a 12-month plan, start in any month other than January, because January is the time when everybody's starting everything. Your 12-month year can start from March 1st to February 28th of next year. There's no rule that says that you have to start something. My wife has this thing, and the next time you see her at the next breakfast meeting, you can give her a hard time about it. She will never start anything unless she starts on a Monday. So every diet she's ever been on starts on a Monday. You do the same thing? Every diet she's ever been on starts on a Monday. Every exercise plan she's ever embarked on starts on a Monday, okay? Any new routine for our kids starts on a Monday. So there's no rules. This stuff can start whenever you want, so you're not encumbered by the calendar. All right, number 2. And this is my favorite. For lawyers, this is my absolute favorite. I should have made it number 5, but it's number 2. Being too smart for the room, okay? Being too smart for the room. I'll tell you, everybody I work with is smart. I mean, whether you believe it or not, you guys are around lawyers all the time. And I know you've been around some people and you just scratch your head and wonder how they got through law school. But one of the reasons I chose lawyers is because coming out of the consulting business, the thing I like the most about working at a consulting company is everybody there was smart. Some people I couldn't stand, some people I didn't get along with, but they were all really, really intelligent. You guys are all smart. But the minute that we start thinking that we know everything in any one area, or the minute we start thinking that there's nothing left to learn, we get in big, big trouble. And I'll give you a great example. I'll give you a really recent example. I've kept score at baseball games pretty much my entire life, since I was I want to say probably 5 or 6 years old. I had a friend who I watched baseball with, who was good at keeping score. He showed me how to do it. I've taught my son how to do it. He's 8. My daughter, who's 5, now knows how to keep score. And so because I know how to do it, I get suckered into doing it for my kids' games. I didn't do it last year. We actually had a mom who was really good, and she could keep the dugout in order. So I was just able to be a coach, but now we don't have that person anymore. So I have to keep score. And I know how to score just about everything, from a balk where runners advance to batting out of order, you name it. If it's hard, I can score it. So 2 weeks ago we had a game, and I made a mistake. We have a 6-run limit per inning. I pulled the team off the field after 5 runs. Never happened. Never happened to me before. I pulled the team off the field after 5 runs, and somebody from the other team caught me, and I was super embarrassed, okay? If you had told me that there was something that would have happened that would have tripped me up in keeping score in a baseball game, I would have told you you were nuts. There are times when, and also, the reason that I got tripped up is because a run scored under the rules that I wasn't exactly familiar with the particular rule that allowed this run to score. I thought the runner had to go back, and the run scored and it counted. So if you told me that there was something that I wouldn't have known in this area, I would have told you that you were crazy. The bottom line is, whenever we enter into something, whenever you come to something like this, or whenever you meet with a client, that's an opportunity to learn. If you don't take advantage of that opportunity to learn, you're truly missing out on one of the richest experiences in life. Every time I do this, okay, every time I get up in front of a group to speak, I learn something new. Whether I learn something new about myself, my presentation style, something about how to record in a room that's not ideally set for recording, okay? I learn something new and it's valuable to me. The minute you start thinking you're too smart for the room or too smart to place yourself in any situation, or there's something that you can't learn, you are putting yourself in a position to make a big, big mistake. Now, this is different from evaluating the return on investment of your time, okay? 2 different things. And I want to make sure that we're clear about these, all right? Because I was involved in BNI for years, for 8 years. I was a BNI member, and I think BNI is a valuable, Business Network International is a valuable group for folks who are in small businesses or solo practitioners or even attorneys in larger firms. I think it's valuable for you to be a part of something like that. People would come to me and they would tell me all the time, listen, this room, it's too dumb for me. People would actually say that. This room is not, these are not my equals, these are not my peers. That is very, very different from saying, this is not something that I can get a higher return on my investment of time somewhere else. Because you could be in a room with people who are your intellectual inferiors, and you could still learn, because you can learn from the experience from what you put into the opportunity to be there. Does that make sense? What you put into it is what you end up getting out of it. So don't think that you're too smart for any room. If you're going to evaluate membership in an organization or where you go or what you do, evaluate it based on the return on investment of your time. And if you feel like you could get a higher return on investment of your time from going somewhere else and doing something else, that's fair. But don't ever think you're too smart for the room, because that is going to set you up for a very, very big letdown, very, very big failure. Any questions? Okay. Poor client or customer selection is number 3. Poor client or customer selection. You don't have to raise your hands, but think about this. How many of you have ever taken a client because you needed money and you knew that this was going to be a big pain in the ass, right? Yeah. We do it all the time. We do it all the time. How many of you have ever taken a client for the experience, right? Oh, I want to get experience in this area, so let me take on this client even though this client isn't ideal. Or you take on a client because you feel like this is going to be a great opportunity to get future business down the road, right? If the client does not have, you've heard me say this before, I'm going to say it again, a problem you can solve, right? That's a problem that's in your wheelhouse, right? They don't have money to pay you, or they're not going to be able to pay you in the manner to which you'd like to be paid, right? They got to pay you in installments, and typically you don't do installment agreements. Or they don't have the ability necessarily to make a decision, but you're going to work with them, just make a decision on bigger matters, but you're going to work with this particular client because it's an entree into other things, and you're not feeling really good about it. Don't do it, okay? Don't do it. Poor client selection is a huge mistake I see people making all the time. If you don't feel, the best you're ever going to feel about a client relationship is the day you sign them up. That's the best you're ever gonna feel. And if you don't feel good about it on that day, it's all downhill, and it's downhill on a banana peel, okay? Fast, super fast. So you have the ability to attract any client you want, all right? And my mentality has always been, I decide who I want to work with, and I spend, if I have to, the rest of my career going after them to try and make them clients. And there are people that I work with today, in fact now, even large companies, that I didn't think I would ever be able to work with when I went on my own. And I said to myself, I want to work with this company. I have to figure out how to go about making that happen. One of the best things that I learned, it was probably the third year I was doing this on my own. Carrie and I sat down, and she said to me, where are the, at Gallup I had a huge book of business, and our minimum, the firm minimum to work with us was $250,000, but my team, we would not work on anything below the level of $1 million. So Carrie and I sat down after the second year that we were in business, and she's like, where are the $1 million contracts? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, at Gallup, she said, you wouldn't do anything less than $1 million. She's like, I figured it would take a couple of years, but what's going on here? Where's the money? And I said, well, I just don't know. I don't know that I can go out and attract that kind of business. She's like, well, who's turned you down? So what I did at that point was I wrote an engagement agreement. I didn't write an engagement agreement for $1 million. I wrote an engagement agreement for $350,000, and I put in it exactly the value that I would provide, and I put the name of the company, and I looked up the person who would be the ideal contact on there, and I had it, and I put it on my desktop on my computer, and it sat on the desktop of my computer until 2 years ago, and I finally ended up landing that client 2 years ago for just about the exact amount of the engagement agreement. My point is, if you don't set yourself up to be the person who can do that stuff, if you don't make that adjustment in your mind, it's never going to happen in real life. All of us sell ourselves short all the time, all right? If that's your ideal client, spend at least 20% of your time going after them or someone like them. Because we all go out, and when you ask for referrals, we ask for referrals for the same crappy clients that we already have, right? Why not ask for the referral for the client you really want? And then if you fall short, you fall short. Does that make sense? All right, remember that the next time you're thinking about who your client should be, because who your client should be is who you should be going after. And then choose, at least, if you want to take somebody who's less than that. Number 4, falling in love with your craft, okay? You guys are all good lawyers, all right? Let's just say that. You're all good lawyers. That's fine. And you probably are the best lawyer in your field of expertise that nobody's ever heard of, or very few people have ever heard of, or not, at a minimum, not enough people have ever heard of. That's because you're in love with being a lawyer. And I don't necessarily have a problem with you being in love with being a lawyer, but you have to find a way to have that same level of excitement about telling everyone how good you are at what you do, okay? And I'm going to say that again because it's so important. You're that good, you deserve the opportunity to talk about how good you are with anyone who has the ability to hire you, okay? I rephrased it to make it easier, to make it more palatable. If you want to make the money you really deserve, you have to be comfortable going out and telling everyone, I am the rock star of Florida bar ethics issues, okay? You gotta be comfortable with that. You don't have to use that term, and I specifically use that about him because he hates that term, rock star, right? But you have to be able to tell people, I'm one of 4 people in the state who can handle these things at a level where your condition, I feel comfortable that your condition will be improved versus, going with other people. I'm the guy you want to call when it comes to these things. I'm the person you need to call when it comes to these issues. Have the confidence. If you need to, go back and review your testimonials. If you don't have testimonials, call some happy clients and get them to tell you how good you are, okay? You have to be just as comfortable with touting your ability as you are in practicing the law in your area of expertise, okay? You don't have to say, I'm the best person on the planet at this, but you better be able to say, look, I recognize that problem. I've seen it before. I know that I'll help you to a point where you'll feel great about the work that we've done. All right? I'm being very careful because I don't want you to go out and promise an outcome, right? Because we have all these ridiculous rules. But look, you're going to be far better off with me. I've done this for 17 years. You're going to be far better off with me working with you than you are with just about anybody else on the planet. I would love to help you with this. Will you give me that opportunity? Why can't you say that? All right? You can, and you should. If you don't feel that level of comfort in your ability to solve people's problems, then you got to find something else where you do feel comfortable, because you deserve that opportunity. So fall in love with your craft, but fall in love with your ability to tout what you do to people when they need your help. Make sense? All right, good. Some of you are looking at me like I'm crazy. The last one, and I think I'm preaching to the choir because you guys are all here, but not investing in continuous improvement, okay? Any of you play golf here? I don't play golf. I don't like golf that much. When was the last time? Miniature golf? Yeah, good. When was the last time you took a golf lesson?
About 3 months ago.
3 months ago. Good for you. Good for you. And why did you do that?
Just because I take one periodically.
But why? Why do you take one periodically?
Just to constantly work on my swing.
Yeah, you want to get better, right? You want to grow. You want to improve. You guys take CLE courses. Do you take them because you want to or because you have to? Some of you have to. Some of you want to, right? What you need to do is you need to sit down. You can do it today. You don't have to do it at the beginning of the year. Pick 3 areas, okay? 2 areas in your personal life and 1 area in your professional life. Unregulated, not the CLE stuff, where you want to improve, okay? And figure out how you can invest 10% of your time in those 3 areas over the remainder of the year, improving. I said 10% of your time because you don't have to invest any money, all right? I just gave you, at the beginning of our time together today, I gave you a way that you can get free stuff from me. Well, it's not free, but you're members of this, right? So it's additional value to you, right? So if you want to invest some time, you can acquire some new skills. You can acquire some new ability, right? It's just going to require you to invest time. Not just the time in learning, but the time in practicing, right? First time you went to court, were you any good? No. All right, okay. So the first time you do anything we talk about here, right, you're going to suck. Accept the fact that you're going to suck at it, okay? And just get it over with. Get it over with. This is what we teach our kids. I teach my son all the time, right? The first time you do anything, you're not going to be any good at it. So let's just get that first time out of the way and then tell me what you were comfortable with, what you weren't comfortable with, and then we can work on those things, right? So when you focus on growth for yourself, either personally or professionally, the first thing you have to realize is we got to create some positive movement. We got to create movement in the right direction. So many of us are perfectionists, right? And part of the reason why you guys became lawyers is because you at least strive for perfection in certain areas. You're detail-oriented, and a lot of you are perfectionists. And that first time we do something, whether it comes to marketing, whether it's marketing or any type of business practice issue, it goes terribly wrong. And we think to ourselves, well, I never want to do that again. Well, I'm glad you never want to do that again, but you're going to have to do some version of that if you want to grow and improve. Just abandoning the effort is not a good enough way for you to invest in continuous improvement. So think about 3 areas, 1 professional, 2 personal, where you want to improve, and invest at least 10% of your time in that. The best advice I could give you is pick something you really enjoy. So, music, right? Pick music. Invest 10% of your time in becoming a better drummer or a better musician, maybe playing other stuff that you would really love to do. You'll find that it becomes addictive, right? You get over that hurdle of being uncomfortable. You get over that discomfort quickly because it's got to get better from here, right? Got to get better. That is one of the main reasons why I tried my hand at stand-up. 1, I got too comfortable being in front of people, but 2, I thought to myself, if this is the worst experience I will ever have in front of a group, then I know I've gotten it out of the way and I will never feel that uncomfortable again. It was way worse than I thought. Way worse. But 18 weeks later, when I was good at it, or good enough not to get, booed off stage, it was a very satisfying feeling. But the growth process was one that I thought to myself, if I was able to grow that much in just an 18-week period of time doing this, I know that I could do a whole host of other things that make me equally as uncomfortable. So that's the five biggest mistakes people have made from my interaction with folks who are just like you over the last 7 years. There are a whole host of other mistakes that people have made that are much more amusing that I would love to talk to you about, but these are the five that I was able to encapsulate, and I got it done before dessert and coffee, so I think that's a pretty good feat. All right, thanks.